I'm going to go off topic and throw you for a 6.
Why do I feel like I'm about to be offended?
Oh shit. Here we go again.
All right, guys, welcome to Glass Culture Podcast, episode 17. Jay, we've got a few things lined up today. Heavily political, but I think it's a good thing coming into election, close out election season. Jay, how are you feeling about this one?
Feeling good. Feeling red.
Yes. Yes, he's red. Yeah, exactly. That was deliberate. And I'm feeling like I need to drink. That's right. There's no exclusive merch, but I just wanted to show everyone. All right, Jay. So obviously, you know what we're talking about today. Got a few things. If there's anything that you want to start off with, let me know. But
just off the bat, I think Trump going to Joe Rogan, I reckon that will break the internet pretty much.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's had a hugely successful run of podcasts, speaking events, things like that. Everything's been met without criticism. So I think
he's the biggest podcaster there is.
They're slam dunk.
I think he gets like 14, 15 million views, like pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of eyes on you.
It'll be, I mean, it's probably people that are already been voting for Trump anyway, but it might maybe sway some of those middle of the ground people. Because I know Joe Rogan has said that he's a libertarian, middle of the ground. So I feel like he might have a lot of middle of the ground people that watch him.
It just goes to show like the type of like podcast that he's doing as opposed to the type of podcast that she's doing. Like she seems to be going on these real small, woke kind of podcasts that kind of fit with her ideology. Whether like Joe Rogan, he'll question everything. Like he's not just going to go along. Like he has his own opinions, and whether those opinions align with Trump's or not, he's going to say those questions that he wants answered. Like he will he's not just going to go along with him. Oh yeah, Trump, you're on the show, cool. He will ask him some tough questions that he feels that needs addressed, basically. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, there's not going to be an approved question list like what we're seeing with Harris. We're seeing some absolute media disasters with Harris right now. But yeah, on that, let's start with the podcasts. I actually want to talk about a couple of Kamala Harris's recent, and I know you would have seen this as well. Have you heard? You probably haven't. I haven't heard until recently of a podcast called Call Her Daddy.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it to me before.
Yeah. So this is a podcast where women kind of talk about women's sex. It's like a sex podcast. It's like Sex in the City in podcast form. So what does Kamala Harris choose to do? During the middle of a hurricane, during the middle of people fighting for their lives, that's the precise time that she's recording a podcast on Call Her Daddy. Bad timing.
Well, I mean, she's in charge at the moment, isn't she? Shouldn't she be in charge of like fixing these things and, getting to, fixing the country?
That's
and
what she's
organizing her campaign. But
that's what she's trying to put forward, isn't it?
Trying to avoid doing the actual job, which is pretty much what Biden did. Avoid doing the actual job and was on vacation for 3/4 of the time.
Yeah, she's kind of like, oh, that's too hard. Walk away. She also had, so she's on the podcast. She was talking about women's sexual health, women's, this kind of stuff, a pre-approved list of questions. That podcast has seen tanking numbers since. People are leaving hateful comments. People are unsubscribing. People are unfollowing. People, that's the kind of podcast that you listen to when you want to turn your brain off and listen to someone say dumb shit. Basically, you know what I mean? Not have like a thought-provoking moment. A bit like us, but now I feel like he's right. But yeah, so like it's an entertainment podcast first and foremost. It isn't a thought-provoking hardcore discussion podcast. It's the kind of podcast where you'd have an OnlyFans model on and you'd talk about what size you prefer. You know what I mean? Like that's the podcast she went on. She went hard to try to get those female demographics, and it's backfired on her and the podcast host. Interesting, but also. And I know we just spoke about the whole Florida hurricane situation, and I just want to do a quick little detour to that before I forget. Did you see she tried to take credit for some of the aid that's been provided to Florida?
I did see something. Don't quote me like word for word, but I heard something about some pilot or aviation person that spoke out about them filling up carriers for suppliers and all this kind of stuff just to take photos and didn't actually send the stuff over.
Yes.
So it was literally just a PR stunt, basically, and didn't actually.
Someone on the ground leaked that information. Also, she isn't the point of contact. So, Biden is still the president of the United States, like it or not. He's invisible, but he's the president. Governor DeSantis came out and said, Kamala Harris is saying she's doing all this, she's in touch with people, she's trying to putting that forward as being the person to go to. Governor DeSantis came out, debunked that, said, I have nothing to do with Governor Harris, Vice President Harris. She isn't the president. I don't need to talk to her about anything. So he immediately came out and said she's lying, because why would I go to her? She can't do anything. And all of this is happening while you've got President Trump asking his friend Elon Musk to step in and provide some aid because the government aren't able to do as much as they want. Because why, Jay?
Well, I'm pretty sure actually they were actually trying to stop Elon Musk doing all the Starlink and all that, and just making it hard for him. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
but
why
look, would you do that?
I know, right? But yeah, look, the main thing is the reason why they're doing it is so people can't go out and vote. Basically, it just so happens to be a red state that is predominantly going to win. So they want to make it extremely difficult, hard, bring those numbers down, make it pretty much near impossible to go out and vote. So those votes will probably have to be mail-in votes.
Yep.
And which kind of votes does it seem like they can rig? Well, we saw last year when you went out and physically voted, that was okay. And it just so happened to see that when it was the mail-in votes, there was that massive swing. So it looks like mail-in votes are the one that they're looking to corrupt again.
Yeah, that's a potential on the card. So they're blocking the support packages, they're blocking the Tesla, the Starlink, the food, everything from coming through because they want to keep them down, which is really quite unsettling, essentially. So, while Florida is underwater, basically, Harris is doing these podcasts talking about women's sex, ignoring the process, and also simultaneously taking credit for being the one to go to while that's happening, which is really, really, really strange to me. What would you make of her? Have you seen many of her media appearances, or do you want me to break down a couple for you?
I'll break down a couple for them. Like I try not to stick on her stuff too much. It's just so goddamn annoying. But there are some like really like, and her laugh. Oh my dear.
Oh, the cackle. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, but what I will do is I will send you this meme because this one I love. I think it's hilarious.
Right.
Those lids are, because this is, well, I'm just going to speak, okay? So this is it. So you know how those lids on the Starbucks cups, they're white, right? And so if you wear lipstick, they get all over the lid. And so then I find myself in meetings if I'm the only woman, and that's kind of it. So I keep taking the lid off and having my cup out so that I don't have that big lipstick mark on the lid. So I said, can we do something about the color of the lid?
Spot on. Spot on. That's Jerry Seinfeld. Spot on. Oh.
That is great. That is great. Did I do a good job of her laugh as well?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad actually.
I feel like I did amazing. I don't know if I should be proud of that fact. Yeah, I've seen that. I've also seen the one people are doing right now where it's like, well, I came from a middle class family.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, what should we have for lunch today? Well, I came from a middle class family and we had bread. And on that bread was cheese and cucumber. So we made a cheese and cucumber sandwich. And as a middle class family, that's what we had for lunch. Like,
yeah.
Her responses
She's
are
definitely not in touch with the people, that's for sure. I mean, like, she's not in touch, and then meanwhile you have Trump that's actually going to Coachella. Now that is being in touch with people.
Is he?
Yeah. So
Wow.
first of all, it's in California. All right. So that is predominantly a woke demographic.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it will go, but look, he's kind of going to the, I guess, the middle people, I guess. You know what I mean? Like if you go to that event, you're not a woke person, you're not a right wing Republican person. You're probably going to be 50-50, basically. And a lot of like fence sitters as well that aren't really like keeping up with a lot of the politics stuff. So it's I reckon it's a perfect thing for him to do. It's very in touch with the normal people.
He might get a chance to persuade people that don't even follow this stuff.
I just hope that the Secret Service is on their A game for that, because big event, a lot of entry points, etc. So
a lot of people. It's a music festival, essentially, isn't it?
Yeah. So hopefully they're on their A game, and we can actually start to see how good the Secret Service actually is, because I think they've had, their foot up their ass for the last few years. And as you can see with a lot of the incidents that's happening with Trump, whether it's deliberate by them or whether it's just letting it slip a little bit, they've been a bit slack. Hopefully they'll fix those things, and they're not biased, and they protect both candidates, because you do not want that kind of stuff on your president, former president to be.
Yeah, well, it's actually, like you said, very, very risky, especially considering that a lot of people are saying that the Democrats didn't think Kamala Harris would have to be put in this position where she's going and doing a huge media tour, because they thought Trump would already be down, so to speak, and they thought Harris would then have somebody who was trucked in at the last minute, and she'd be able to run with it from there, essentially. So, they're going to try to take these chances more often. In my opinion, that's what people are kind of saying, on the street. I like to keep my finger on the pulse out there, but I'm seeing people say that as well. So risky, but I think the benefit would probably outweigh that, I think.
So she is not going out in public as much. So she's, staying behind closed doors, doing a lot less risky things. So I think it just goes to show you how brave one president is versus how scared the other president is. And then I actually, to talk about that, it's just popped into my brain that her and her PR team have put out a statement that she went to a doctor's, and a doctor that she's been seeing for the last 3 years, apparently. Not a lifetime doctor, just the last 3 years. And this doctor has given her a sign of her cognitive function, saying that she's very sharp, very fit, very young to be mentally able to be the president, taking kind of like a shot at Trump, I'm guessing. And Trump is just like, I'm doing that. Like, how pathetic.
It's also interesting because this was the party that was also saying how mentally capable Joe Biden was, and he was clearly incapable.
Exactly. And the whole time she's like, "Oh no, he's as sharp as a whistle."
Well, the media's made that switch all of a sudden. It's total opposite. That kind of hypocrisy, very interesting.
Amazing.
But we have spent some time talking about Kamala. I think that's a good way to start this off with, because
you know what?
Entertaining.
I'm going to go off topic and throw you for a 6. Let's take some shots on Nike.
Why? What?
Because they've got 2 videos out at the moment.
Oh, no.
Sorry. Correction. They've got 1 video out at the moment. So 1 video out at the moment. I don't know if you've seen, but it's a Nike ad for women's basketball. Women, just like in general, saying that they're the greatest of all time. It's talking about, women and this and empowerment, and how the men are nowhere near as good. The women have got 7 dynasties, and that's what it takes to be a dynasty. Alexander the Great, is just Alexander the OK. Really just taking a shot at men athletes, and just men in general, and just trying to pump women up, basically. Just literally just shitting all over the men. Have you seen that advert?
I haven't. I won't play it because it's a Nike one. But
Okay.
I'll find and link it down below, I reckon.
Yes, do that. But what I want to transition to,
yes,
is there has been another ad put out. Now, I don't know who put this one out. I'm sending it to you now. But this was put out basically as a clapback to Nike, and for basically what they've been doing and supporting as of late, along with all the transgender stuff, the men and women sports. So it's basically it's quite an empowering thing. It's basically just calling out Nike, saying, why won't you support women, general women that are biological women, like help her, like, you know what I mean, like help, like you've got like the biggest voice in the world pretty much, and we need your support. We don't need you putting these men and stuff in women's sports and promoting it and saying it's okay and all this. Like, basically, it's really quite a good ad.
All right.
Why won't you stand up for me?
Why won't you stand up for me? Why won't you?
Why do you claim to support women and girls? Yet when we need you most, you remain silent.
Today, males are claiming our identity.
Our sports,
Our spaces.
men and boys are stealing opportunities, medals, trophies, and our future.
It is not fair or just.
In fact, it's often dangerous. Yet you refuse to use your platform to stand up.
You say you're for social justice and progress.
So why do you allow men's rights to come before ours? See, with a big platform
Comes an even bigger responsibility.
you have a chance to do the right thing, not just do the easy thing.
So we're asking you, Nike.
So we're asking you, Nike,
So we're asking you, Nike.
as the biggest voice in all of sports,
Will you stand up for me? Will you stand up for me?
will you stand up for me? Will you stand up for me? Will you?
Will you?
Will you just do it?
Fantastic, right? Very empowering.
Yeah. I like how it's, you know, will you just do it? It's like literally like their slogan.
I know, but like then has like I don't know what order that came out. So like just off the top of my brain now, I'm thinking like, did they do that and then Nike made that recent ad that you put the link down below with? So basically shitting on men because that's what they think that they want them to do. So it's like they've done like a real like oxymoron kind of thing.
Yeah, I get that. I'm curious. But that reminded me of Harris's campaign ad. But yeah, I think what's happened is Nike is so big that I don't think they care. They only care if they lose millions and millions of dollars. They only care about that stock. There's a
Every
good
company
chance. Yeah, well, yeah, but there's a good chance that
Look at
Nike
Toyota.
haven't even seen that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The
Well,
Rexona
I'm-
one, the Gillette one, the Rexona one.
I'm sure they will. They'd have PR people that would be out there. That would be.
They don't have a
hearing-
social media team, but will they actually pass that, message, so to speak, on?
They would have meetings about it. I'm sure they would. I saw the Barack Obama thing talking about black men need to get out of their places and go vote, for a black woman because they're culturally the same and blah 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 blah. And they went to your high school. They stand for what you. But like, get out of here, man. Like, stop trying to bring race into it and all this kind of stuff. Like I'm so glad that, like, from what I've seen, 99% of black men that have been coming out all over Twitter, all over the place, have been saying, we will vote for whoever we want to vote. First of all, stop telling us how to vote. You're not our daddy, because he tries to come across as like the black dad, right? And
He's like-
second of all, like, no, they don't want to vote for her. Like,
Exactly.
it should be not about that. It should be about who's the best person for you in America.
Well, what was I was trying to think. What was he saying? He was saying, like, yeah, we need to get the black man on board for the women or something like that.
Mm.
Shut up, Barack. You're a multimillionaire. You have no idea what the real world want.
Well, then he's talking about I think just recently wanting to tax the millionaires and this and that. Like all right, okay, if you think that that's the way to go, right? Why don't you tax yourself? All right, because he's probably worth like 70.
He's
80
one of
million.
them. He's one of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So lead by example. Start it off. Forgo 99% of your net worth, and you'll probably still be in the 1%. Right? Why don't you lead by example, bro? Give it away.
Yeah.
I bet you won't. You're just going to piss and moan about it to make it sound like you're wanting to do the right thing for the people.
Well, I mean, not only that, but when you think about it, they've got to get it past Congress as well.
But that's not the way to fix things. That's not going to fix anything.
But like what I'm saying is, it's not going to fix it. But they're not going to convince people to vote for that.
Of course not. But I mean, like, I feel like if you still believe that taxing the multi-millionaire rich people, companies, and all this kind of stuff, that high percent, if you think that that's actually going to fix things, then like I feel sorry for how smart you are, basically. Like it will not, like when you dumb it down and like explain it properly, it like doing that is going to instantly create less jobs because more people are going to get fired because those bosses are going to go, well, we need to save money here because we're having to give money here, right? Because again, it comes down to profit. Yeah. Right? So all of a sudden you're going to have all these people out of a job. And then how do you feel now? Because you were one of those people that thought, yeah, tax them. Now you've lost your job. And now, you know what? It makes it easier as well for them because robot and AI is coming along quite well. So you'll probably just easily be transitioned and replaced.
Yeah. I mean, you saw what happened in California when they raised the minimum wage, for people who work at like takeaway shops and stuff like that, like Macca's and stuff. They raised the minimum wage. And what happened? Employees in California either went bankrupt, shut up shop, or just sacked most of their employees. You know what I mean? Like it didn't benefit. It only benefited those couple of people that were left at that workplace. Yeah. Raising taxes is going to have the same
like you
effect.
said. But like also people are getting programmed as well. Like people that are like that aren't switched on, aren't awake, aren't just like waking up to the bullshit. Right. So we went to McDonald's the other day. Right. And I was first of all overwhelmed. Like
Jay was livid.
Yeah, like I guess I'm not really used to all those screens everywhere. No face-to-face interaction. It's just screens, right? So that was the first issue, having to deal with a screen, not a person. I couldn't just choose to go to a person. I had to do the screen thing, right? So then it was telling me to either pay by card or pay at the counter, which is fucking so stupid. All right, like why would you give that option to begin with? If you're not going to take someone's order, why can't I then pay at the counter? Right? People might say for cash. Well, can't you just put cash on the machine? And if not, why don't they do that? First of all, I mean, there's a little idea for you, McDonald's. Anyway, so I say pay at the counter, right? I go to the counter, and then I'm standing there, and then the girl comes over, and she looked livid. Like she looked like, why couldn't you just pay away at the counter? And I'm thinking, love, I'm keeping you in business. I'm giving you something to do, right? Because you won't have a job soon. This will like all what you do will be just taken over by AI and robots.
Yeah, I mean, her job was.
Do you not think that? Oh, I appreciate the person coming to me doing the face-to-face that's actually refusing the robot, the technology route, and is actually doing the face-to-face thing. No,
I do remember that was funny.
She doesn't think like that though. She just thinks, "Oh, I don't want to deal with people. I don't want to talk to people," because that's the world that they're being brought up in because of particularly from COVID, from the antisocial kind of point of view. I mean, it's just really all fitting in quite well. Like that generation doesn't really want to do face-to-face contact. They just want to do SMS. Don't call me. Just text me. Yeah, I'll talk to you via the internet. I don't want to talk or catch up in public. Like, yeah, it's just.
I think also like you tell me that that is a faster process, walking in and using the touchscreen? Because you and me spent a couple of minutes like fucking around, like trying to actually get through the thing, and it's like, well, how do you do this? Oh, go back. Hang on, where is this option? I don't see it. Back.
It's a slower process for me.
It takes longer, and a lot of people are going to be doing this. Like, a lot of people are going to be just like you and me. We're going to be like lost on that screen of mess.
And what am I paying for? I'm paying for someone to take my order.
And McDonald's prices have gone up.
I shouldn't go in there and have to pay to place my own order. I might as well just go out the back and cook it at this stage.
You might as well just like walk away with a carry home bag of uncooked food and cook it yourself. Also, one thing, do you think, I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories about COVID, and I know it's a few years old now, but do you think COVID was bought out, COVID was released intentionally in order to heavily facilitate these companies? Because since then, all companies have really pushed this agenda of having, contactless payments. It was starting to kind of come before, but COVID happened, and then it was like, all right, we all need to do contactless, and now everyone's got a contactless options. Banks don't have something where you just walk in, talk to a teller. You walk in and you use a machine, basically. Do you think it was kind of just a fortuitous moment for AI to come and take over, or do you think it was?
I think it was deliberate. I think it was attack on probably China, because they were getting super big, super industrial, just literally just kind of like screw their economy. Because all around the world, I think they were doing like 90% of all the shipping of products, right? So
yeah,
you basically handicap them, ruin their economy. At the same time, you kind of like screw like small businesses, stuff like that here. And what you do is then you tell people, oh, like this is blah blah blah. We're going to give you money because you're staying at home, and we're looking after you. So they give people the money, and then people then go spend the money at like a massive corporation like Amazon because they can't go anywhere. So then all of a sudden, billions and billions of dollars gets funneled into that one company, and then you talk about the rich getting richer. Like that's you just literally just lined it up, hook, line, and sinker for Amazon to literally pretty much overnight get trillions of dollars.
Yeah, they all made so much more money. And then I think Jeff Bezos sold a whole bunch of stock shortly after as well.
Smart.
Which I find interesting, to say the least, smart. Yeah. But yeah, so I think that's maybe potentially linked. But yes, moving on from that. A couple of Tim Waltz dilemmas coming our way. Maybe Harris's team didn't properly vet the man. Maybe they thought no one else would. Maybe they just didn't give a damn. But what's your read of Tim Waltz?
From the debate he did, I thought he was underprepared.
Yeah.
I thought by the end of it, he was going to literally vote for vote for the other guy. And he seemed okay. Like all right, you've lied about a couple of little things, like there was that thing about him being in the serving in the army and stuff like that, and fighting and stuff like that. Bit of a porky, mate. Blah blah blah, doing that. So he's told a couple of little porkies, but he came across as a lot more likable than Kamala Harris, that's for sure. Because a lot of the stuff he was agreeing with, just a few things I guess he had to, by his role and by what he's supposed to do, is back up Biden and Kamala. So there was a couple of things that he obviously didn't, but for the most part, it sounded like he was like, yeah, like you're right.
To me, it seems like he's the kind of person who, he could be very easily led astray. One of those people that, like, if a cult leader wants to, attract somebody to come and join their, little tent village, drink the Kool-Aid. He seems very gullible and very, I'll come do that. That's the read I got of him. Not sure if that's a good or bad thing as a vice president, but pretty willing to think that's a bad thing. But there's been a few crazy reports on Tim Walz come out. And I know we spoke about this briefly, kind of just stuff that we only just saw. But have you seen the report? I'll read this out. So Tim Walz, nicknamed apparently, was Touchdown Timmy, sexually assaulting a high school kid during his time as a high school football coach. And the claims also suggest that he took that kid to a gay bar and engaged in inappropriate behavior while the kid spent the night at his house. Very interesting. Obviously, it's more of an allegation. You don't want this kind of stuff coming out, a month or so before an election. Pretty damning kind of stuff there. But yeah, nicknamed Touchdown Timmy because he was very touchy, hands-on kind of person. So what do you think? What do you think of that?
Where there's smoke, there's usually fire.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what I read one. Where does it go? Spend the night at your home. Blah blah blah. Gay bar. Apparently the school board knew and had a meeting about it with him. What else was? What do we have here? Some of the stuff I can't read out.
That's what I tried to filter what I was saying.
But like he said it. He said at the time, like he was a football coach, and he lied about that. He was an assistant coach, not the actual football head coach. Which like what he said. Something about an Indigo Girls concert. Maybe that was the concert they went to beforehand. But yeah, just like most of the rest of that was probably inappropriate to read. But yeah, absolutely disgusting if it's true. But like I said, where there's smoke, there's fire. Just hopefully it can basically be put out and shown, yep, cool. So it doesn't have to get to the level of fire.
Yeah, it's creepy stuff. You don't really, you need people to actually come out and have real evidence, I guess, but still it's kind of stuff you don't want to come out and have people at least have in their back of their mind when they're going into the voting booth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Second, Tim Walz gaffe, and I think this man's life must be filled with gaffes. I think he constantly has little issues. He went for a photo opportunity hunting, took his own shotgun, didn't know how to load the shotgun, which I thought was funny. Didn't know how to load the shotgun properly. Reportedly only took photos. So a similar kind of thing to Kamala Harris, taking photos in front of, just taking photos for a photo op and then basically putting the gun down. He went there to look like a real man who hunts. Didn't know how to load the gun. Took photos. Left shortly after. You know what I mean? Like another little thing where they're trying to pull the wool over your eyes, make you think people are this way, that way, but in reality they're not at all. Which I think, interesting, kind of annoying. But yeah, what's your read on that kind of thing? Like just faking it, basically.
I mean, most politicians lie.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
It's just which ones are lying more, I guess, and which ones are basically trying to do something bad, I guess, like bad.
Who has bad intentions?
Yeah, more bad intentions. Like, some people lie and be like, I want to do this, I want to do that, and it's all going to be good and helpful stuff. But obviously, once they put it through Congress and stuff like that, a lot of it doesn't get through. But at least the means and the effort was there to want to do something good. But when someone lies and says, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do this," and then does the complete opposite of that, that's lying but having bad intentions, because you really don't want that, and you're going to do something bad in replacement.
Yeah, this isn't a white lie just telling, oh, you look great in that dress, or, or lying about, oh, I'm busy tonight, but you're not busy tonight. You just didn't want to socially interact. You just didn't want the awkward thing of saying like, oh, look, I don't want to be social tonight. You know what I mean? Different kind of thing. I know you were saying a couple of weeks ago that, people typically have like 3 lies a day or something like that. Just the big ones are the ones that matter. The small ones are the ones that don't matter, essentially. Yeah, I find it interesting lying and going on a thingy and not even having the effort to train yourself on using a gun and going to trying to look like a real man who uses a gun. All right, guys, thank you for joining us for episode 17, Glass Culture Podcast. This is obviously a heavy, like Harris, Waltz, Trump, video essentially, but we thought, it's good to kind of cover a few of these things because not everyone sees it, and hopefully you guys enjoy the video. If you have, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Jay?
Let's do it.
See you guys next time. Peace.
See ya.
Thank you for watching Glass Culture Podcast. If you liked this video, click here to subscribe. If you want to see the full podcast, click here.